joining us now, Utah Congressman Burgess Owens. Burgess, such a tragic, and I mean truly tragic, couple of days for the nation, and I'll say for the world, because the reaction has been worldwide. But in the halls of Congress, you and your colleagues will honor Charlie's life, his legacy, and so much of what he has opened our eyes to on this planet.
Well, first of all, you're totally right there, David. It's amazing to see the impact of Charlie, and sometimes we take for granted what a young person can do. And he's only 31 years old, and he actually has started a movement, and we're starting to see the result of that movement as around the world, young people are really kind of tuning in and realizing that we had an opportunity to talk with someone, see what free speech was all about, what it was to actually have an opportunity to have nonviolence and have a conversation. So he made his impact, and it's just beginning. And I'm excited about what the next generation will come through as we continue to educate people who Charlie was, what his message was, and that will be the best way to fight the hard leftist Marxist ideology that's been rolling through our campuses.
You know, Congressman, we're not just seeing people celebrate Charlie for his political fight and for what he did in the world of politics, but also his spiritual fight as well. I mean, This is a man who was a devout Christian, who wore that on his sleeve, who wore bravely and proudly, and we're seeing millions of people from across the world stand up more boldly for their beliefs as a result of his assassination. I know you're a man of faith. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing as well with sort of this awakening around the world that we're seeing.
You know, Charlie has a message of hope, of happiness. And we've had a generation of kids who just have no idea what that looked like. They were really searching. And his message was very simply, get married, have kids, work hard, really hard to get into the middle class, then give back. And have faith in a Christ, in Jesus Christ, and a faith and the blessings that come by just being good people. That's a message that gives a generation to come an idea of what the American way is all about. I think what you're going to start here, and I'll always say this, when I think about what Charlie represents, it's hard to replicate everything in one person. I saw this in Martin Luther King with the nonviolence when he would go into really bad areas. But his nonviolent, his faith led him through, and we got empathy through the rest of the country. And then you see Rush Limbaugh, who had the intelligence, the ability to connect and talk. Charlie had that, but he also was in the campuses where people can see and touch and shake his hands and listen to him. So even those who did not agree with him, they left with a feeling of this is a good person. And that good person concept, that ability to have conversations, is really what Charlie was all about. So this is a movement that is just beginning, and I think we should all be thankful we can be part of, make sure that this legacy moves forward in a big way for sure.
Burgess, President Trump vowing moments ago to support action against Antifa. Listen to this.
You plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder.
They're not just an idea, are they, Burgess?
No, this is a spiritual war that we've been dealing with for quite a while, and Antifa highlights what it is to have a godless ideology of young people who just learn to and then hate other folks, and that's their mission. I think we're in a position now that we're realizing it is a fight, a spiritual fight. I'm thankful to see young people now begin to turn toward going to church and realizing there's strength there. But we need to make sure we're stopping this evil. We cannot allow it to come to our campuses. And I think it's a little bit more than just one little group here and there. This has been a concerted effort by the left to degrade our society from within, to have our folks hating each other, fighting each other. We have visuals on the other side. By the way, the conservative side, the right side, we have visuals. We pray. We say what we can do to come together. The other side, burn down buildings, burn down cities, and the hate is seen so much in the conversation we're having online now. So there's an obvious difference, and I think the bottom line, the good people in our country, Republican Democrats, will see this difference and lean toward the right, which is a God-fearing, good people trying to do the very best they can.
Well, and I think it's people of all ages too. I mean, I've had so many people reach out to me, even people who never met Charlie, of really just this gut check moment for looking at someone just 31 years old. You look at everything that he did in his life, how boldly he walked in his faith, how boldly he walked in his beliefs, and so a gut check for so many people around, not just here in the country, around the world. Of, am I doing enough in my life? Am I living boldly and bravely enough? But Congressman, we've seen just all this dehumanization rhetoric that, as you mentioned, just the calling of Nazis, Hitler, fascist, and that devalues a human life when you assign those evil labels to someone. So I guess what do we do about that? What can we do about that?
Well, just know, Lisa, that's done on purpose. You have these same people saying the word fascist, they have no idea what it is. They don't know how to read, write, and think, and yet they hear the word fascist and they just decide they want to destroy. That is a strategy by the hard left. And when I say hard left, realize there are good people in the Democratic Party. Recognize where the party's going. Recognize and listen to the voices coming from somebody being assassinated, and you have people literally celebrating this. That is as deep and as dark as it can be. So those who that still love our country, love each other, want to do the very best, have good hearts. Let's see look at what you're dealing with. And I'll say, if you don't want to become a Republican, be an independent. Be someone that will vote your conscience, vote your values, and the conservative values is where we need to get back to for sure.
Congressman Burgess Owens from Utah's 4th District, my friend, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Likewise.
Appreciate it. All the best.